John Buccigross. Frank coming in hot from Chicago after a couple appearances. You good? You fresh? You ready to go? You got your legs?
Fresh, maybe not, but smelling fresh after freshening up, and perhaps a bit more fresh than your shirt.
Yeah. Buffalo has won 10 games in a row. I have promised to continue to wear this shirt on Frankly Hockey until they lose a hockey game. 10 wins in a row. They have the 10th best point percentage in the league now, Frank. They're a top 10 team now, point percentage. 8th best in the East. They're in Columbus tomorrow. They've never won 11 in a row in franchise history. They've won 10 in a row 4 times, and here we are. And here the shirt is. Still smelling okay because, luckily this is a winter show.
Well, it is quite warm there in Naples, though. It's like summer all year. I don't know how you're.
Well, yeah, but we've had a good week, though. 70 degrees, upper 60s, 40s at night. Good winter classic. Of course, we have a winter classic. There's 4 games today and tonight in the NHL. Winter classic tonight in Little Havana, Miami. Panthers and Rangers. I think it's going to be a nice spectacle. We got the roof open, the windows open. We should have some good drone shots. The league will make it look all nice and pretty with the fake snow. And so, yeah, I think overall the climate for Florida, good for my T-shirt, good for Winter Classic.
Get me a Cuban sandwich.
Hey, happy birthday, Brian Boucher, my former line mate at ESPN. Now he's at TNT and the Flyers. Cole Caulfield, not a great birthday for him, Frank. And Peter Lee. Pittsburgh Penguin fans remember Peter Lee, short career, but a couple 30-goal seasons just before Mario arrived. Peter Lee and the blue and white Penguins back in the day. Happy birthday. He turned 70 today. He was just a little kid with a little kid name, Peter Lee. Just sounds like a little kid playing hockey. All right, Frank, some quick hitters for you before we hit the big news with the Olympic teams. Austin Matthews, 14th career hat trick last night. That's the most now. Any U.S.-born player. He passes LaFontaine. He's only 28. Yeah, me too. Really surprised that he is now the all-time American for hat tricks at the age of 28 and needs one more goal to tie Sundin for the all-time Maple Leaf goal record of 420. Matthews is at 419. Got his hat trick kind of early last night. His last 4-goal game was his first game in the league against Ottawa. So surprised he hasn't had another one. Sidney Crosby, 2 goals in the first 5:46 of the Penguin game last night. That's the quickest he's ever done it from the start of the game in his whole career. Never had 2 goals that quickly. He also has now 127 opening game goals. That ties Gordy for 4th most. And a couple of Crosby notes, Frank, I found interesting. No career 4-goal games in his career. 17 hat tricks, 14 regular season, 3 playoff. His last home regular season hat trick almost 8 years ago. We see hat tricks almost every night in the league. You think like they're very common that, he would have one at home, maybe one every 2-3 years, but it's been 8 years.
I can't believe that Crosby has more hat tricks than Matthews. I don't know why that sounds hard to believe.
Well, they both have 14 regular season. So, but yeah, I think you're right. Crosby does have 17. But yeah, obviously Sid's a passer, and he could have shot way more last night. But again, he's looking to dish, looking to make the play. He could have. That's why he probably doesn't have 4-goal games. He's always looking to make the right play. Dylan Gunther, Dylan Gunther, first career hat trick. He's up to 20 now, 10 goals in his last 11. He's a future Olympian. Maybe next time around he'll be right in his prime, and he could be a guy that Canada names to their Olympic team. We'll go over Team Canada as well on the show coming up in seconds. Islanders need goal scorers. You wonder if Matthew Darch, what's he's going to do? Play it patient and just kind of go with what he goes with and wait till these young guys start coming and get in the lottery again. 9 straight games with 2 or less, Frank. And then we finished with Cole Caulfield. We mentioned happy birthday. 20th goal of the season last night. He's got 5 straight 20-goal seasons, Frank. First Canadian player to do that since Thomas Plekanec had 5 straight 20-goal seasons.
So that takes us.
Yes, I think Yashin was the first. Gretzky, Yashin were the first with the turtlenecks, but also Plekanec did that as well. And Bruins fans and players, mocked him just as a result. So, U.S. Olympic team named this morning, Frank, on the Today Show, of course, a tradition unlike any other. The men's tournament begins in Milan February the 11th. With the U.S. opening, you would think that it would be on Good Morning America, with the ESPN deal. Disney owns ABC.
Either way, it was a grave disservice to this sport. The roster's got like a little flyby, and if you really wanted to see them, you had to come actually find them online because they didn't really announce the team yet. They waited 3 days for that. Canada had a 30-minute, an hour-long show dissecting the roster, and in the U.S., so desperate for relevance in the mainstream, we got 30 seconds.
Sounds like the USA Hockey Boys must have a friend at NBC. Hey, we'll give you a little Easter egg. Get me on Wingfoot in the summer, and I'll let you unveil the Olympic team.
Yeah, Wingfoot is pretty good.
It is. They're only human. So again, the Olympics begin. Men's play in Milan, February the 11th. The U.S. Opens Group B preliminary round, February 12th against Latvia. That's 42 days away. So, Frank, let's look at the squad. Gold medal game, February 22nd, by the way. Team USA, we gave our teams last time we were on the air together on Tuesday, and here it is. Team USA, no surprise, that top line. Clayton Keller perhaps gets a bit of a thank you very much for being on the World Championship squad, not having a great year. We see Dylan Larkin, Jack Hughes, Kyle Connor does get the call. We weren't sure. Miller is a shocker. Trocheck may be a little surprising. Good to see Tage Thompson get some love. He's been not only just an off-the-rush player this year, Frank, but he's been a forecheck player as well. That had to get the attention of Team USA and their brass. But again, that's Team USA up the middle on the forward group. What do you think?
When we had Bill Guerin on earlier this week, it feels like last week, one of the words that he used was versatility. And as soon as he said that, Butchie, I was like, oh, Vincent Trocheck, he made the team. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's poster child for me. Can play center, can play wing, can kill penalties, can do whatever it is that you need. So that made sense. I was really surprised about JT Miller. And I am a huge JT Miller fan. I think he's a dog. I think he competes. I think he battles. And he does have some versatility as well. He can play down the middle as well as anyone. But this season, he has really been unimpressive in a number of different facets. And I know that obviously there's a push for different biases, and we'll talk about this probably more with Team Canada. But to see JT Miller keep his spot, and I think one of the big things when we get to the omissions and the quote-unquote snubs, because I don't think there are any. These are really good players making the team. But you mean to tell me you couldn't find a spot for Jason Robertson among this forward group? 10th in the league in points, 7th in the league in goals. I'm sorry. Like I could find a spot for you right here. I mean, that's the guy that I'm taking out is JT Miller.
Highest scoring American, Jason Robertson. Smart player, good on the wall, good defensive player. Like he intercepts pucks on the forecheck, can make a play, obviously can finish. Shootout, elite shootout player, which matters in the Olympics. You're right. He's having a great year. There's multiple guys that really, I get it. Some guys just, you see him skate. If the game gets fast and furious, he can fall behind a little bit, but that brain and that finish and that shootout ability, all of it, and how hot he is, how good he feels about himself. And that's the way I felt about Alex Tuck, too. I want Alex Tuck killing penalties. I want Alex Tuck on the ice late in the game blocking shots with his speed and size and reach and hands. And
you sold me on Alex Tuck. I had Alex Tuck off of my team, but with the case that you presented earlier this week with our final projections, I was like, Alex Tuck, the way he's blocked shots and has had this, winner take all mentality in regular season games in Buffalo. That's a guy I want on my team.
And he would be like Dylan Larkin. Remember Larkin made the team last year? It was the greatest moment of his life. He's had no playoff success outside of his first year in the league. And I think it lifted him to be a different player. Tuck would be that same kind of guy. What it would do to him, it would make him faster. It would make him stronger. It'd make him block more shots because he could, and that kind of juice, electricity. But again, I get it. I think Team USA, Bill Guerin and the rest of them felt if Charlie McAvoy doesn't get hurt and we have Quinn Hughes, we're winning 4 nations. We had the right team. McAvoy injury really hurt us. Obviously, not having Hughes made us not as good. Now that we have Quinn Hughes, and he's playing possibly with a guy he's played with for almost 2 months as an instant chemistry thing, like the Makar Taves, And now we have Charlie McAvoy healthy, and you heard some of those microphone, the audio of the Four Nations when when Brady Tkachuk is like, "I'm following you, Charles. I'm following you, Charles." When he stepped up and delivered those hits, especially the one on McDavid, he became an emotional leader. He is so likable. He's a blue collar guy, came from a blue collar family, and players kind of they like him a lot. And so I think, like I said, he doesn't get hurt. They have Hughes. We had the right team. And I get that. And you want some chemistry from the tournament last year. You don't want to build a new chemistry. So I get that. When in doubt, default to the team last year for that chemistry, cohesiveness, because it happens fast. You get together quickly and boom, you're playing important games. You don't want to say, well, that guy doesn't fit. Maybe his personality doesn't fit. Maybe his role doesn't fit. So I get it. Not only the biases of picking a player on your own team because you don't want to ruin a possible future relationship. And I get that too. That's a real thing. There's no doubt that's a factor. But between those two things, I can see why maybe when in doubt, they might surprise us with a pick, not take a Robertson, take JT Miller back and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm looking at Canada's roster and I'm going, the firepower there. I think the offensive group for the U.S., particularly if it's, and I know he's coming off of a hat trick last night, but particularly if it's Auston Matthews among those leading the charge, it feels underwhelming this year compared to Four Nations. Four Nations, I looked at that group and I said, man, that feels like a wagon heading into that tournament. I don't have that same feel for this group this year, and I don't know why. I can't really put my finger quite on it. It's a good team. There's no doubt. They made a lot of really smart selections. And we tend to overthink and nitpick around the margins and edges, but I think that's sometimes where the tournament is won.
Well, I think it's the Tkachuk injury, right? Brady Tkachuk was injured, right? Eichel's hurt now. So I think that's probably a big reason why you probably feel that way. And I get that. It's like, there's a lot of uncertainty in that top six. Jack Hughes was hurt, right? Is he going to play on Matthews' wing again? It didn't go well last time. Connor, obviously the coach scratched him late, wasn't confident in him, but he's back. So yeah, now maybe that should take us right to the stubs now for Team USA or notable omissions. This was your list on Twitter that you threw out this morning, Frank, that I retweeted. Caulfield, Nyes, Kreider, Robertson, Tuck, John Carlson, which I really push for. That's a strange situation, the relationship he must have with someone in that brass. Adam Fox, Norris Trophy winner. Lane Hudson, absolutely electric season. What he does for the Canadians. Jackson Lacombe, who's basically a Zach Werenski double pretty at this point, but I get that. You have Werenski, but yeah, we mentioned, like you said, it's on the margins, and some guys got off to a cold start. They got a month to get hot, and they might be hot in February, like a Clayton Keller. But yeah, that's some really, really good players right there.
They are, and I mean, I could understand a lot of the thought process with these guys. And I'm sorry, Ranger fans, but Adam Fox, to me, was always on the outside looking in. I didn't have him at any point for this Olympic process, and it's definitely not because of one game and one mistake made at Four Nations. It's solely because of how much he slowed down on the Rangers' blue line. And look, I understand how disappointing not having him on the team is, and the outrage that's followed from Ranger fans. But I think there's stronger cases to be made. We just made one for Robertson. What about Caulfield? I mean, we talked earlier in the week about trying to find late game magic. What if you're down and you need a goal? It's the third period. It's crunch time. So much of what Montreal has done has run through the stick of Caulfield. If you're going to take an undersized scoring winger, I know Keller at times is dish first, and he can score too. But if I'm searching for goals, like I'm taking Cole Caulfield ahead of Clayton Keller.
One-shot shooter from distance, an extrovert, which I think matters when you're trying to pick a roster out. I know certainly the Tkachuks take care of that for sure in terms of being extroverts who can really lead. But I love his personality. He loves the big moment. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I just think he offers a lot of versatility, a one-time slap shot option if you need that. Shootout guy again. Yeah, really, he's magical, and that team is magical, and Montreal is must watch every night. It's really fun, and I thought he'd
What
bring
about
some
Knies?
electricity. Yeah,
The reason
I didn't
I
have Knies. I like Tuck better than Knies as an overall player.
And I get that, but when I heard that line from Bill Guerin a few weeks back about if you can't check, this tournament isn't for you. I'm like, how many guys check better than Matt Knies? I mean, he's got
Yeah,
the size, he hits everything that walks. I know this year has been a little bit of a down year productivity wise, but with his size, skating ability, and hands, like there's very few guys in the league that have that combination. I mean, he doesn't put the fear of God in you like Tom Wilson does, but he's the closest thing that the U.S. would have had to that option. I mean, Tage Thompson has size and he obviously has hands and scoring ability, but I don't know that anyone would say Tage Thompson is mean or
right.
has that really physical streak that runs through his game. I don't see that at all.
I think he will play, though, more physical at the Olympics. We saw that with some players at Four Nations, and I think they carried it over into their careers, like a Matt Boldy, who is now a wall menace. I think you'll see that, like when you watch Thompson now, especially during this winning streak against Dallas the other night, he does hit in the corner. Like he's starting to, and obviously he knew he was on the team then, and you could tell. My goodness, what a game he had. He was a monster. And that's what this naming to this team will do for some players like him. And so I think he'll take care of that. But that's what, like you said, when you have Kyle Connor, Jake Gensel, Clayton Keller coming down at you as your defenseman, you're not afraid, like you said. That's when we had Guerin on. I wanted to ask the Tuck question with him in our window here on our 3 box so I could see maybe I get a reaction. That's why when he was on, I said, that's why I have Tuck on my team, because you don't have anyone like him. He's different than a Gensel, Connor, Keller, especially
He
in
didn't
terms of
bite.
size. Yeah. So, but again, that's a very good team, like you said. Matthews just has to perform. Eichel and the Canucks have to be healthy and do what they do. I think Boldy's like one of those givens. You're not worried about him at all. I think Thompson is going to be very noticeable. Their defense and goalies are the best in the tournament. Let's face it. Their defensemen, that defensive core, and those goalies are the best at the Olympics. And that's why they're the favorite.
It's really interesting to see which two of those defensemen out of the 8 will end up being healthy scratches because
Slavin's hurt again, right? He's not playing again.
He's not, but I watched the call that Bill Guerin had with Jacob Slavin and they both said, quote, the timing is going to be perfect. So they clearly know something that the rest of us don't, that he's trending in a real positive direction, which I think not for Olympic sake, but I think the Canes have handled this in a very conservative way because they also know things are going well for them in the standings. No need to rush them back. It's really the playoffs that matter. I think their timeline has aligned with what the U.S. is looking for in terms of Slavin and being at full strength. But if you're picking out, I mean, left and right is one thing, but if you're picking out your 2 today, who are you sitting out of this group?
There's no doubt. If Slavin's 100%, Hannafin and Jones won't play.
Okay.
I
was thinking I might go Sanderson and Hannafin out.
Man, I love Sanderson. He's such a skater. He was really good last time. He was big in the gold medal game. He can score and defend. I don't know. He's
Seth Jones in the Cup final?
No, for sure. But, I think he's somewhat, I don't want to, of course, in this team, he's going to be insulated with a great partner as well, no matter who he plays with. So he'll be better. At this point, this stage of his career, he needs that a little bit. His skating isn't quite, it's not Sanderson. So, but he's so good offensively and he jumps into play well. He's got a confidence in his career. He's like a made man now that he got that cup. So yeah, no, I get you. I get you. If you like that matchup and for some reason you like the right left and in practice and stuff, you see a little difference. And let's face it, the coaches will see practices and they'll see how these guys up close. Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. I still like 60-40 Sanderson, but yeah, I wouldn't be a huge upset if Jones is the guy who plays.
All right, let me throw one more thing at you before we move on to Team Canada, and that is,
you got it.
I will see none of it. I will hear none of it. The slagging of Brock Nelson and his spot on this team. If you go back and rewatch the third period of Four Nations face-off, There, sitting in TD Garden, there were some very tight sphincters in that building, and understandably so. Brock Nelson was not one of them. He was a beast and gave that team some incredibly important shifts in big moments with relatively limited ice time before that. As soon as I watched that third period, I was like, oh, that guy just made the Olympic team. And he's actually played better this year with the Colorado Avalanche, where everyone's been good, but has been a huge driving force for that team. There was no way you were leaving Brock Nelson off this Olympic team. I'm sorry. And anyone saying, oh, like you got to put in Robertson for Nelson, that wasn't the guy. That's not the guy to take out.
No, right. It's Robertson for Clayton Keller. That would be, or even Kyle Connor if you want to go there. But I think that's the comp. Right. No, Brock Nelson, absolutely. Now he's comfortable with that team. So again, he's coming from a team that's dominating. He's going to bring that feeling and playing with great guys to that line, especially that fourth line that I like him with Tage Thompson and Jake Gensel. That's a smart, brainy line that three guys that can score. Gensel around the net. Nelson in that slot area, but Elko can shoot in distance and 2-on-1s. He comes down a wing on a 2-on-1. He can score. Obviously, Tage Thompson. So, yeah, I love Brock Nelson is in the really, now that he's on this team and can smell a cup. And for a lot of years, let's face it, on the island, he did. Now, for a while there, they had some really good teams and they were close. But this is a little different when you're on a team like this who is just going, the clear-cut team in the league. So, yeah, I agree. Brock Nelson all the way. So let's get to Canada then. They unveiled their team New Year's Eve. It was, like you said, it was a nice production that NHL Network picked up on, and they did it in St. Paul, Minnesota. So that was a bit odd. The Canadian team named in St. Paul. But the kids introducing themselves is kind of interesting. They use youth hockey players to introduce. You wonder if the player who announced Macklin Celebrini was older than Macklin. It's close. They looked about the same age. But there it is. Let's face it. When you talk about, McDavid and McKinnon, obviously 1-2 in scoring, then Crosby, the legend, and then Reinhart and Stone. I mean, Mark Stone's awesome. And again, Bo Horvat just tweaked his knee a little bit last night, so we have to keep that in mind. But again, Anthony Cirelli over Sam Bennett, there's not a GM who would make that trade in the NHL. Like, no one would trade Sam Bennett for Anthony Cirelli. But again, John Cooper's the coach. He gets a couple picks. He's going to pick his guy. I get it.
Well, I think when you consider the totality of the players that were available to Canada, could they have picked better players to replace Anthony Cirelli, who have played better this season? Yes. The answer to that is yes. But that management team isn't on the bench and isn't the one throwing those players out on the ice in key clutch situations. And that's where the opinion of the coach matters. He's the one ultimately that needs to call the number to send them out there. And if he's more comfortable with Cirelli than one of those other guys, then so be it. They're going to have to live and die by that. And I don't think in the end, that's what's going to make or break Team Canada. They have such an embarrassment of riches up front that, I mean, the biggest, tallest task for the U.S. is going to be trying to contain these guys and try and out-muscle and outwork them, which in and of itself is going to be ridiculously hard to do, because not only do they have speed, but they have a force of nature coming right out the door after Connor McDavid in Nathan McKinnon, if they're on separate lines. So that's why I said I feel like the U.S. side is a bit underwhelming, is because I look at this forward group and I say, how can you possibly shut down Team Canada? I don't know if I see it happening, regardless of whatever inefficiencies they have on defense and in net.
And now when you mention McDavid and McKinnon, you have to mention Macklin as well. 3M, as in terms of a guy who is in that elite category now, not just a plucky, young, fresh face. He's legitimately one of the best players in the league. And you're right. They'll get most of the ice time, certainly those top two lines. The third line can get a lot, and we'll see how much the fourth line gets. I'm sure it depends on score and situation, if they're down or not. And it will be interesting if they ever do pull like a Crosby Malkin, who back in the day would pair together once in a while in certain situations. We see Draisaitl and McDavid after they kill a penalty. They do that. You wonder if Team Canada will bring that philosophy as well. Once in a while, get them out there together. If they like a pairing, they like a matchup, like a decor situation. But Yeah, that is certainly
I mean, that's Canada Cup stuff. Like we're talking like
it is.
Lemieux and Gretzky on the same line together. Like that's insane.
Coming down on a 2-on-1, right? I don't think it doesn't. I don't think anything will ever match that 3-on-1 with those two guys coming down the ice. But again, these guys are certainly in the neighborhood in terms of Hall of Fame all-time greats. But yeah, Team Canada, and they seem to have just that little extra special nationalism sauce when it comes to hockey that I think gives them an advantage. It just does.
Well, because like, thank God New Year's Eve is a holiday. No one else in the country would be getting any work done at their desk when this team was named. Like that's how much it means. And it's just a different, like we're fighting for scraps here on the Today Show. Like in between breaks is what you're trying to get at. And I make the joke, and it's not to slag anyone at USA Hockey or the Today Show. It's more so to say like, it just doesn't have the same juice. The U.S. Olympic team is not a national talking point for a week the way that it is in Canada. And that's just facts.
Al Roker, what are your thoughts on Clayton Keller, please? But let's look at the goalies. Let's look at the goalies for Team Canada. Can those fellas bring home the gold? Can one of those fellas bring home the gold? Or in the end, I know they're okay with Four Nations. They got a bit of a break there. They got a couple great games from JB. But what do you think? You think deep down they're concerned in their big offices?
I don't know why you would be. I mean, you're not asking any of these guys to give you the sun, the moon, or the stars. You're not even asking for one of those things. You're just asking for relatively competent goaltending. And Darcy Kemper, who's had a really good couple seasons here, is sort of the poster child of that, an example of it. He's one of the only goalies to win a Stanley Cup with a sub 900 save percentage in modern day NHL history in the playoffs, in one playoff. They won on his back already. They won the hardest trophy there is to win. You mean to tell me that one of these guys, Thompson, has been one of the most accomplished in the league in terms of racking up wins? Binnington has the big game history, that one of them can't find a way to get the job done. So when you talk about health in the U.S. and you talk about the Canucks or Austin Matthews or Jack Eichel or whoever it might be, Jacob Slavin, to me, the whole tournament hinges on Connor Hellebuck and his health. How will that scoped out knee, will it get back to normal here in the next few weeks and allow him to hit the ground running in Milan to give this team, and if not, if it's Jake Ottinger, will they have some game stealing ability? And I'm not talking about the preliminary round. I'm talking about when it matters most in the gold medal game, when you've got one shot from Connor McDavid, the best player in the world, coming off of his stick in OT. It needs to be a save instead of the golden goal. And that's really the difference.
Mm. And like I said, Sweden's loaded too. It doesn't mean you're going to beat them in a semifinal game. Like you said, if one of those goalies does have a great game, you don't even get to the gold medal game. And Canada does decide, Frank, to bring back the same defenseman. Again, that's what I talked about earlier. Sometimes it's just, it's good to have that cohesiveness because they were just together last February. You know how they work. You know how it looks like. You know how it works. And so, why tweak with that if you're really confident and you like the way it all worked out last time?
If I could think of one word to describe this entire Team Canada roster, it would be safe.
Yep.
This was a very ordinary, safe, copy and paste, clean roster. Mm-hmm. There's no gaudy pick. There are some interesting omissions. Like, I would have had Connor Bedard on my team, and the way Doug Armstrong answered that question, I'm honestly even wondering if Connor Bedard is one of the standby players that Team Canada is going to call on in case of an injury. Some news today from Pierre LeBrun that Bo Horvat's injury is apparently not significant or serious, and his Olympics won't be impacted. But I mean, this is a very safe Canada roster. There's no part of this they went out on a ledge. They kept the same decor. And I did like one, for as much as the mobility outside of Cale Makar might be in question a little bit. I just love the analogy that Doug Armstrong had, which was our coaching staff wanted guys that it's like swimming through seaweed to get to the net. Big, long arms, reach, size. That was their emphasis on the back end. And I mean, they're not reinventing the wheel here. They're just trying to make it, I think he said, using the term like a car wash, where, you know, you've got a bunch of bristles spinning at you trying to send you the other direction.
Yeah. Those big floppy things that hit your windshield, and they get the bristle things. Yeah, just like when they won the cup in 19 with Parayko and Bortuzzo and Edmondson. Yeah, just make it tough, and then have a goalie make some saves, and then have your best players do well. In the end, right, it's McKinnon. We have Cale Makar and you don't, and then we have McKinnon and McDavid and you don't. So we're going to lean on that. Then we're just going to make it hard to get to the net. Hope our goalie, you know, makes enough saves. But in the end, our good guys have to be our good guys. And that's what it comes down to. And McDavid scored the game winner last time.
So we got to touch on Sam Bennett, though. The reigning,
like you said,
Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
He's played well on the team last year. Scored a big goal in Four Nations. Went on to win the Conn Smythe. A bit of a slow start this year, but there's some hangover. But going now, point per game, physical menace, doesn't really take dumb penalties. Like, he's a pretty responsible guy. He's quiet. He's like not a distraction. He's an energy. He gives energy, doesn't suck it out of the room in any way. So yeah, that to me, that's the big one for me.
And Bennett,
and Bedard's a 100-point player who has Canadian World Junior heroics. He always shows up in big games. He'll be even faster at the Olympics. He'd shoot the puck even harder at the Olympics. We know this.
All these guys on your screen right now, the notable omissions, really had a case to make. And you made a really impassioned one for Morgan Geekie. And I think Zach Hyman is the premier player at what he does, hunting pucks in the NHL. But watching Sam Bennett miss out and go with, and I know the coach has to make the decision. We made this point already, but watching Sam Bennett sit on his couch while Anthony Cirelli is playing in the Olympics, it just, I don't know how you could argue that the way even this season has played out, that you would think that Cirelli's had a better season than Sam Bennett, who Paul Maurice made a great point yesterday at the Winter Classic. He goes, Sam Bennett's played some of the best hockey of his career this last month or 6 weeks.
For sure. And this, let's face it, this is a little bigger than Four Nations. It just is to win Olympic gold medal. Four Nations was awesome. It came out of nowhere. It was a great gift for us hockey fans. The players love finally having best on best, but that was a warm up for this. They want an Olympic gold medal up on their house in their man cave to give to their daughter, give to their son one day. This is the big one. And so I'm sure he is heartbroken, Frank, because this was his last chance. He's not going in 4 years,
No, and he's in the absolute heart of the prime of his career. I mean, he's the reigning Conn Smythe Trophy winner. If you want a big game player, I mean, that's not a guy you're leaving on the table.
It should be like golf. Like, if you win that tournament, then you get in the Tournament of Champions. If you win the Conn Smythe, you're on the team, no matter what. That's your lock. That's your lock.
Those are the
rules.
We're
going to talk World Junior with Stephen Ellis and Daily Faceoff in about 60 seconds. But Frank, we have to hit on the Winter Classic. The 16th one in the history of the Winter Classic is today. First one, 2008 Buffalo. Crosby, the snow globe. It was a perfect way to kick off this tradition. I think this is a great setup. Little Havana, Miami. The weather's good. It's cool enough. It's been a cool, crisp week for Florida this week. The roof will be open. The windows will be open. The drone shots will be amazing. I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a Winter Classic tonight with the Panthers and the Rangers.
I guess it drives me crazy to watch people feign outrage on Twitter. Like, it can't be the Winter Classic in Miami. Like, come on, what are we doing here? First off, the Florida Panthers deserve this. Back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. Second, it's a great tourist destination, a place that everyone wants to visit. Third, the ice conditions and everything will be just fine, and it's going to be a great view and venue. Like, what if we had said to you 16 years ago in 2010 when we were at Fenway Park, hey, the Winter Classic someday is going to be in Miami? Like, we all been like, what? Like, come on, there's no way they could even pull that off technologically. And yet here we are, and people still have something to complain about. The visuals are going to be awesome.
For sure. And like I said, it's still winter here. Temperature was in the upper 30s overnight the last couple of days down here in Florida. So it's like, it's not like it's 90 and sweltering humid. It'll be in the low 60s tonight. Obviously, it's basically an indoor rink technology outside. The ice will be fine. Like I said, it's in a ballpark. The fans will love it. It's comfortable for them. Some of these winter classics are really cold and terrible for some of the fans. This will be very comfortable to help grow the game more down here. Florida is where it's at. 3 straight Cup appearances for Tampa, and then 3 straight Cup appearances now for the Panthers. You get New York here. Obviously, all kinds of snowbirds from New York. There'll be a sizable New York roar in the crowd when they score tonight, Frank.
I still think it should have been the Lightning, but that's just me.
Well, they have another one. They have their game in Tampa Bay coming up, the Stadium Series game against the Bruins. So yeah, I think but you're right. It's the best rivalry in hockey right now, Tampa and Florida. And like you said, I thought you made a great point the other day that we need to market that more. They should be on TNT, ESPN. All their games every game should be national between those two teams. It's that good. Let's bring in Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff, our World Junior guy. We got 5 games today and tonight: U.S., Finland, Canada, and Slovakia. And Steve, the Daily Faceoff prospect analyst, WHL insider as well, and he joins us. Hello, Stephen.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Great to see you, Stephen. 5 games again on tap at the World Juniors today and tonight. Relegation game going on now. Who's your early tournament MVP so far as we head into the quarterfinal? What dude has really impressed you, and what's his future look like?
Well, there's a couple guys on Canada that put up a good fight. You look at Michael Hage, you look at Zane Parekh, but the guy that I think would get it right now if I had to vote would be Adam Jiricek, a defenseman for Czechia. And you look at what that team has been able to do in this tournament. They're very strong defensively. Thomas Galvis, he's been passed over in the last 2 drafts. He's very small, and I think that hasn't helped his draft stock, but he's been very good too. But then you see Jiricek, and this looks like a guy that could probably play in the NHL the second half of the season. And that's not going to happen, but you just watch him out there, just the way that he's moving the puck, the way he's reading plays, blocking a ton of shots. I wouldn't be shocked if he is the block shots leader in this tournament. So I know he's not going to go win the scoring title this year. He's not going to do what Cole Hudson did last year, but I think the Czechs he deserves a lot of love for Czechia's success at this point.
St. Louis Blues first round pick, Frank.
Yes, he is. It'd be interesting to see which Jiricek brother is on a better trajectory after the Minnesota Wild gave up a ton for his brother. But wanted to ask you about how well the Boston Bruins did restocking their system last year with their stealth tank, right? So they get James Higgins in the draft, but then they also acquire via trade Will Zellers, who the guy is an interesting story, barely made this Team USA team and is now among the tournament leaders.
Yeah, so when USA announced their initial roster at the beginning of December, he wasn't on it. And he was added about a couple days later, and I think that was well-deserved given how well he was playing in the NCAA up until that point. He's been so good in North Dakota, and now you see him at this tournament. He has 3 game winners already for the Americans. He's got 5 goals, 7 points. For a guy who's playing on the 4th line, those are some incredible numbers. So he's definitely in that MVP conversation. I think when you look at the fact that Colorado traded him as part of that Charlie Coyle deal, and I think right now Boston's got to be feeling really happy about it, because when it comes to Zellers, he's playing prep hockey in his draft year, and then he was going to the USHL last year, and he's been productive at every level, but it still felt like he needed to take that next step up and play the right competition for him. And right now, he's looking so good in college. He's looking so good at the World Juniors. And if USA is going to win a medal, I think he's going to have to be a big part of that.
Yeah, 3rd round pick of the Avalanche who went to Boston. 44 goals for Green Bay last year. He's got 10 and 18 for North Dakota this year. What does he do well? How does his game translate?
He's got an excellent shot, and he can shoot from anywhere. And you look at every level he's ever played. He's been a high-end goal scorer. He's great in the power play. He's even played a little bit of the penalty kill at times here. But I think with him, you look at that speed. He's probably one of the fastest guys on that American lineup. And I think when you just watch what he's able to do, even on that 4th line, playing with AJ Spelcy and Brendan McMorrow, he is clearly the most skilled player of those 3. But that also shows that USA can run 4 lines and get goals from every line, because a guy like Zellers can put a lot of pucks on net.
He turns 20 in April. Let's talk about defensemen and high-end NHL draft prospects. really all the way around. But Chase Reed comes to mind for Team USA. I think he's going to go really high. You can see his brain, right-handed shot, decent size. I think I don't know how he goes back past 5 or 6. We'll see. What about other high-end NHL draft prospects for this summer?
I think the one that a lot of scouts are really excited about is Albert Smits. And you watch him play, and there's a lot of Moritz Seider in him there. And he's got that very similar frame, 6'3", 205 pounds. He's very mobile, and he's done a lot for a team that doesn't have a lot of offense. So the fact that he's been able to score a couple goals here and be very effective is very important. I think also he's been great on the power play. And you look at what Seider was able to do with the German junior team a couple of years ago, and he was just kind of everything for that team. And they did have Tim Stützle, and they did have JJ Peterka, but when it comes to what Seider was able to do, he was able to just really solidify that backhand. And Smits has done that to the point where Latvia is not an easy out in this tournament. So I think they're going to give Sweden some issues today. They're the first quarterfinal game, but with Smits, I'm very happy with what his tournaments look like, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's off the board at number 3, 4, or 5.
It's been fun to watch the confidence that Smits has too. It's not quite like Jordan Binnington, do I look nervous, but staring down Team Canada, I mean, it was pretty close to that sort of similar declaration, no?
Yeah, he was not afraid of anybody out there, and he was actually asked kind of who his favorite players are, who does he like to watch in the NHL, and he said, I have no favorite players. He just likes himself. And speaking of confidence, Jan Chauvin on Slovakia said they are guaranteed to beat Canada today. So bold decision there. I don't know if he thinks he's getting traded to Canada before the game starts tonight, but yeah, I love the confidence these guys have.
So wanted to ask you as well, we talked about high-end prospects, and there's been tons of eyes on Gavin McKenna so far at this tournament. We saw the hat trick, but what else have you seen from Gavin McKenna in his game, and where do you think his draft stock is at this exact moment in time?
I still think he's at the top. I think no draft prospect in this tournament has showed as much skill as he had. And I think when you look at that line that he's playing with, Michael Hayden and Brady Martin, they're the line that's creating most of that offense for Canada, the most dangerous. And I think the big knock against McKenna right now is he's not doing a ton at 5-on-5, but on the power play, he's been really good. He had that hat trick against Denmark, and it's easy to say, like, that was Denmark, three goals, who cares? But he was the only one who did that, and he was by far the best player in that game there. So he has shown that he could take over shifts, and I also feel like his 200-foot game has been a bit more on display in this. That has been my biggest concern with him, is that he doesn't do a ton away from the puck, but it feels like he's actually been one of Canada's better back checkers in this tournament. So overall, I'm still really happy with his game.
And then just finally, Steve, what about the atmosphere in St. Paul? How are they as a host city?
St. Paul's been pretty good for those USA games. It's been incredible to kind of see the crowd there. I know in Minneapolis, where I am right now, the attendance has not been very good. And there's probably like 80 people at this relegation game going on right now. But that Canada game on New Year's Eve was jam-packed. But that was kind of it. So games in St. Paul, not great. Even the Canada games here in Minneapolis, not great. So the attendance has been a big talking point. I hate that is the case. But I will say a lot of fans that I've talked to have actually bought tickets from this tournament because of watching heated rivalry. So that's cool. That's something that probably wasn't going to be a thing about a month ago.
Germany and Denmark going on right now. Sweden, Latvia, Czechia, and Switzerland. USA, Finland, and then Canada, Slovakia. Big day at the World Juniors. Stephen, great job as always. We appreciate you. Happy New Year, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Stephen Ellis giving us the lowdown. Frank, have you? I know you've been working and flying around the continent. Have you been able to catch many games of the junior tournament?
I have. Really Good. Looking forward to this quarterfinal matchup. U.S. Finland is. I mean, it's going to be pretty good. I mean, like Slovakia too. Like no one should be sleeping on that team. They gave the U.S. some fits on the other side. So, I mean, look, you never know with teenagers and emotion, and it's a very interesting time, especially for the Canadians who are feeling some of the heat of losing in the quarterfinals each of the last 2 years. So be curious to see how today shakes out.
USA, Finland, 6:00 Eastern time, by the way. All right. Time to ask the insider. Frank Seravalli is the insider. And this is interesting. We talked about maybe some players on Canada and the U.S. Maybe got some favorable treatment because of their coach might be coaching the team, or they have a member of the front office on the selection committee, and they don't want to hurt their feelings. But didn't help Adam Fox and the Rangers, did it, Frank?
No, and I think this is definitely a sore subject, and I understand why Adam Fox is upset. He feels like his game has been at that Olympic level, but he's also looking at the management staff, and he's saying, well, Chris Drury, you're the assistant GM here, and Mike Sullivan, you're the coach. So why is it that I'm not getting the backing required to make this team? Why aren't you pounding your fist on the table the same way that John Cooper might have for Anthony Cirelli? And I think it should be known that they were. But I go back to the conversation that we had with Bill Guerin earlier this week, where he said, the final decision rests with me. The buck stops with me is an exact quote. And so these are his choices in the end. It's not a vote. It's not a democracy. It's everyone makes their case, and then he's the final judge. And understandably so. I mean, like I said, I've watched Adam Fox slow. We talked about it. I found the clip the other day. October 27th said definitively Adam Fox isn't making this team. So there hasn't been a huge shift on that front, but I could understand why there are some hurt feelings. And look, this is a very real thing when it comes to hockey in the Olympics. Go back to Marty St. Louis and Steve Yzerman. I mean, Marty St. Louis didn't finish his career as a Tampa Bay Lightning. He finished it as a New York Ranger.
Fox, again, Norris Trophy, point per game guy this year, 28 points in 28 games. Obviously, 3 straight 70-point seasons. I'm not a big power play goal scorer, but still a guy, double-digit goal scorer. Just an amazing, smart player, drafted by Calgary, but, went to Carolina. I'm not signing with any of you. I'm going to be a Ranger. I am determining my own destiny here. So this is where he wants to be. But I get the sense, Frank, he's the kind of guy that I don't want to say, I just don't think he will hold a grudge like some athletes or some people would. I know I probably would if this was my organization, to be frank. But I think he's able to look above it and move on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, maybe with some time, but I could tell you that for the here and now, there's a white hot third rail topic.
From his perspective and his people, you're saying?
I think just overall, I think there's a lot of concern that everyone's hoping that this all sorts itself out.
All right. Well, we still got a long way to go on the contract. 3 more years after this year, 9.5. So we'll see. Something to keep an eye on for sure. All right, let's hit the social media world. #hockey. Like to find something different, quirky.
Yeah, I'm going to take
unique.
this one.
Yeah, this is all you, because I had known nothing about this. You need to help me out.
Okay, so my kids are obsessed with Roblox. They play Roblox, and if you have a kid, any teenager or even younger, on an iPad, on a PC, whatever it is, they're playing all the time. And I wanted to give this guy some love because I found this, and I figured as someone who went to the Igloo a ton that this would be near and dear to your heart. So you build everything by little blocks. They're little squares, and this guy went and totally redid the entire Igloo in Pittsburgh. Literally block by block.
Yeah, the old arena.
Yes, Mellon Arena. So he did the whole thing, and he's got the concourses. This guy, the Pens blog, and I got to get his name in there because this is like literally like hours upon hours upon hours of coding here and building. This should give you some flashbacks here. Those jerseys hanging down above that old school scoreboard, and he's got the concourses in there. He's got the locker rooms. He's got, I mean, we can't see it here, but if you pan up in his other videos, the roof is so magnificently done. I just thought, as someone who frequented there a lot, that you might enjoy it.
Yeah, again, it was called the Civic Arena when I was a kid. So that it became Mellon Arena when I moved away. But yeah, I always lived within an hour of Pittsburgh, for our viewers who might not understand what Frank was talking about, but yeah, it was a cool retractable roof arena. My parents would go see concerts there when I was a tiny little tot, Nat King Cole, and they would open up the roof. This is in the 60s. Like this thing was way above its time. I snuck in there one time. Me and two buddies drove from Ohio. It was 45 minutes away. We bought one ticket from a scalper. He said, and we bought a ticket, and then we gave it to another guy, and he says, "Give me that ticket. Just go around the outside of the arena." It was glass. You could see through. And he kept going around, and we were on the outside. And he kept going, keep walking, found a door, open it up. We sneak in and watch Mario during his rookie year play the Minnesota North Stars. And we were able to sneak into the Civic Arena at the time. And so, yeah, we would sit the last row center ice, and it was a great seat because, again, it was a very intimate, small arena, and it was a great place to watch a hockey game.
It was really unique, and it's a shame they didn't take care of it better because it probably could have had a better shelf life.
Right.
Because at the end, it was just so far gone. They just, they had no choice but to move. It was like, I couldn't believe those were some of the first teams that I covered in Philly. I covered 1 million Flyers games there, and I couldn't believe that NHL players were getting dressed in locker rooms like that. Like it was like your local beer league was way better off, more space, brighter, a lot less damp. So it was a place, but I just wanted to highlight this guy Penn's blog because what he's done, I'm telling you, I can't even build a rudimentary house on this thing. And he's got a whole arena with like scoreboards and a beautiful dome roof. I mean, well done, guy.
That's what sports does, man. It makes us do stuff like that. Like I said, especially the sport of hockey. I built a backyard rink every winter when my kids were little. I was like, what am I doing? But you do it because it's hockey and it's for your kids. And as a sports fan, again, we do things that don't make any sense. And that shows the passion of the sports in our consciousness. And of course, the sport of hockey as well. Well done. All right, you got to speculate to accumulate, Frank. You're doing well. What do you like tonight on a small slate?
Yeah, coming off of a loss, by the way. I took the Canes on the money line against, I believe it was the Pens, and no bueno the other night. But thinking Kraken Canucks under 6 goals tonight. I hate the under. I hate rooting for the under, but we know how much the Kraken have struggled to score this season. The Canucks are not exactly lighting the world on fire in the goal scoring department either. So feeling like the under 6 is a relatively safe play, like this best on the slate tonight. So these odds courtesy of our friends at BetMGM. Let's see if we can make some magic happen tonight. Let's do a little speculating.
Yeah, the Kraken are going. They're 5-0-1 in their last 6. They're a wild card team now. The Kraken and the Sharks out west. So after a while they had a great start, and then they were terrible, and now they're kind of going again. So again, that's what the NHL has been this year. It's been riding
traded Marchment and better. How does that work?
Yep, I know. Sometimes it does happen that you somehow add through subtraction for whatever reason. Guys get new roles, they get excited, they get scared, like we're on notice now. Multiple reasons why that can happen in both situations, whether you get a guy like Marchment, who's been a good fit for Columbus, who blew another third period lead. But he's been a nice addition on that top line with Marchment and Fantilli. It's working. All right, last word time. And boy, Steven Stamkos, what a number. 600 career goals. That is, it's one thing to get 500. 600 is another tier, Frank, and he did it for Nashville.
He did. Third active player. The only other two are Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, so pretty elite company. And just the 22nd player all time to hit 600 goals. He does it in 1,204 games. And really what I wanted to point out is this guy who had struggled for the bulk of this season and last in Nashville relative to the standard that he had set is that we're almost seeing a bit of a revolution or evolution in Stamkos's game right in front of our eyes. These numbers, courtesy of Adam Vingan on Twitter, who's always taking a deep dive on the numbers. But look at the first 22 games of this season. 47% of his shot attempts were from the slot. That's up to 60 in the last 16 games played. So a market improvement. He's just getting way more inner slot shots, 1.4 per game as opposed to 0.4 per game in the first 22, and then compare that to last season. So I don't know what happened over these last 16 games for Steven Stamkos to suddenly be Tyler Bertuzzi getting to the net for some high danger looks, but somehow this guy who has an incredible shot that's always found the back of the net has retooled right in front of us.
And him and Ryan O'Reilly are going. O'Reilly's finding him. That's a nice combination right now. Sometimes it takes time to work with a new teammate. And like you said, you need to evolve. You need to figure out, okay, with this group, with this sport, and my age, it's different. I'm not playing with Kucherov and Point and Hedman now. I got to figure out for this team and this group how it works. And he has. So kudos to Steven Stamkos, just the ultimate professional. And I just think that if we want to talk some fun trade stuff with him, there's one team that he would electrify and change on multiple levels.
Who are you going to say?
The Carolina Hurricanes. That's his spot. The one-time position for a struggling power play, a score from distant shooter, which they lack from the forward position. They're a grindy, get-to-the-net team, just try to throw pucks there. But he's the one guy. I see him on that flank, Frank. I see what he would do his stature, again, now 600. His stature in the league is way up there. He's like that Sakic, Yzerman kind of royalty, right? He's hockey royalty. When he shows up on any team, especially a good team like that, a real good team, not just like Nashville who threw everything at the wall, and it's taken a while for it to kind of work, I just think he would electrify that organization and that team. And they swing for the fences, which I love.
I know.
Right? That's what I love about
they're
Carolina.
Aggressive, but we talked about this idea of everything that they do is relative to how does that player fit in for Rod Brind'Amour. And I don't know that Steven Stamkos to me screams Rod Brind'Amour. I really don't.
No, but I think that's a great question. I'd like to get Rod in a room and ask him what he think about this guy and how he fits. But the way he shoots, the one-timer, the big game, he's a big goal scorer too. Like he leads the league in game-winning goals this year too. He has a clutch factor, I believe, that they need in tight games and against teams where maybe their self-esteem might be not great in the playoffs and they need to feel better about themselves with their roster. And you add a guy like that on your roster. I know he's 34, but still, I just think it makes you feel better about yourself knowing you got that guy in your top six. And,
I could think of a few better fits, I think.
That is, yeah.
What about the LA Kings? They've been scuffling. They're hot committed to this older core. I mean, why not throw another log on the fire? And I bet it's
another old log on the fire. Yeah.
I mean, like if you're gonna do it, you might as well be all in. The Preds did it and it didn't work. So
I like that. I like that team for sure. There's a few like that. We should go through that.
New Jersey,
and, maybe we'll. Jersey, another great spot. Again, like he would bring them something. Like that's a guy. It's one thing to make a trade, but the guy that gets you excited and obviously ranted in first in Carolina, then in Dallas last year, and that'd be fun. We'll think about that over the weekend, or maybe throw a couple out there.
The point is, he's played himself into the conversation now because I don't think there were enough teams interested in Steven Stamkos based on the way that he started the season. That now you don't really have to squint to see him as a guy that could come in and be a difference maker, where you're willing to accept the term on his deal to make it happen.
Exactly. And you got $8 million a year, which suddenly isn't a terrible number if a guy's going to score 35, 40, and it's only 2 more years after this year. And then, if they want to eat, and if they eat 2 million of it, maybe you give them an extra second rounder or something, you get that down to 6. Well, now you're winning.
You're living.
All right. Happy New Year,
We're
Frank.
living.
We are living. And we're going to although today feels like Monday, because yesterday felt like Sunday all day for me. So
well, guess what? Now it's going to feel like Friday because you don't have shows Saturday or Sunday. So there you go.
Exactly. We will see you Monday before I head to the airport to fly up to Connecticut for a couple of studio appearances up there for a couple of games this week, Tuesday and Thursday. So, Frank, you have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday, and we'll see you, frankly, hockey viewer fan, on Monday as well. Peace.